Hello and welcome to the course. My name is Brian, and I just wanted to give you a brief introduction to the course for this quarter. I think many of you have had me in class before, and if so, welcome back. And if not, this should hopefully give you some background information on what to expect throughout the course. It's not unlike any of the other courses that I've taught. This is a follow-on course to CT395, which is IT Security 1, so this is the second part of the IT Security series of courses. The sort of the survey course in IT security. In the previous course, which was the survey course in IT security, you learned a lot of soft skills with IT security. So we learned things like risk management and infrastructure and things like that. Whereas in this IT security course, we're going to cover some things in a little bit more detail. There will be a little bit of overlap between this and the previous course because in some cases, we're going to get into some more technical detail than we had in the previous course. And just like in CT395 and CT420, there'll be many topics which you can learn a lot more about these topics in other courses. So these are, again, this is a survey course, so in many cases we're covering pretty much all of the different subject areas within IT security. So there are many cases there are other courses that you could take. For example, we'll be talking about network security, and you could take classes on network security. We'll be talking about authentication and authorization. You could take classes for Active Directory and so forth and so on. So, and I'll let you know as we go through the course, you'll hear me in the lecture videos allude to the fact that some of that material is covered in other courses. So the other thing that might be very similar to CT395 is just in the previous class there'll be practical assignments and written assignments, and I'll talk about those as well here just to give you an idea of what to expect. If you need to get a hold of me, so if you need to contact me, when you're in Blackboard, you click on Instructor Info, and you'll find my telephone number and my email address, and you can also contact me through Google Hangouts. I know that periodically some people have difficulty getting a hold of me at the Drexel email the last quarter or two. So don't hesitate to use this email if I'm not getting back to you at the bcg28@drexel.edu address. So make sure you try both if you need to. And also, you're welcome to contact me on Google Hangouts. A lot of students will just connect to me on Google Hangouts. And if you have a question about an assignment or you have a question about something you're working on, feel free to drop a message, and I can just text you right back. And I'm okay with text messages on my phone as well. I know many of you have had me in previous classes have used text messaging, and that's fine. So you're welcome to do that. So that's how to contact me. If you do want to meet with me, I can be available to meet with you in either New Jersey or Philadelphia. So I can generally make appointments for the CCI, for the Rush Building, which is where CCI is located downtown. Or you can meet me in New Jersey. I teach also at some other campuses. So I teach at Burlington County College, Camden County College, and Atlantic Cape Community College. So if you're in close proximity to any of those, there's a good chance I can meet you there as well. And also Temple University in Philadelphia. So if you do need to meet with me for whatever reason, feel free to reach out to me to make an appointment to do that. All right, so in Blackboard, obviously announcements, I think you use this in all of your classes, but throughout the quarter, if I have anything I need to tell you, I will do so in announcements. You should have already received an announcement already. This is the one here from Sunday, March 26th at 4:01, so that would have been last week, a week before the class started. I sent you a link to download the syllabus, which we're going to go through here in just a few minutes, and just a little bit of background about the course, and hopefully you got a chance to start Practical Assignment 0, which you would have had to have access to in Blackboard. Throughout this semester, this message here at the top always stays at the top, so you always have to scroll past that message to see the latest message. But for sure, keep an eye on these. I do try to make sure they also go to your email, so you should get a copy in your email as well. When you click on Course Information, you will find a copy of the syllabus. I don't know why you don't see it here, but there is a copy of the syllabus here that you should be able to download. Oh, there it is. It took a second for it to load. But when you click on this image, it'll download a copy of the syllabus, which you can review. And if I make any changes to the syllabus throughout the quarter, I will send you a notification as an announcement in Blackboard. So you will get notified if there's any changes to that. But I did want to go through the syllabus with you a little bit. So before we go any further, I'm just going to go through the syllabus so we all are on the same page with the grading and whatnot. So let me just pull that over. All right, so first, the textbook. We are using Network Security Fundamentals by Mark Champa, or Champa. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but that is the book that we're using. It's the 5th edition. Came out in 2016. So make sure you have a copy of the textbook. Ebook is fine. Most of the labs that you're going to do are from the textbook. So you'll see most of the, and by the way, in my classes, you'll have, I don't call them labs. I have what I call practical assignments and written assignments. So the practical assignments are sort of hands-on when you're doing something. So whenever you're doing something, it's a practical assignment. And when you're writing something, it's a written assignment. And then I always have some quizzes and some discussion threads, just like any other class. And then, of course, we have 2 exams, a midterm and a final, like any other class. For the practical assignments, the only thing I wanted to make sure you understand is that your practical assignments are worth 30% of your total grade. They're roughly divided evenly. So the way these practical assignments are weighted, each one is weighted about the same, except for this one. So in week 4, so most weeks I have multiple practical assignments. You can see that here. But in week 4, I only have 1 practical assignment, and it's a rather lengthy assignment. So that one, I only gave you 1 assignment in week 4 because that one takes a little bit of time. It probably takes about as much time as 3 or 4 of the other practical assignments. So I weighted that one a little bit heavier. So I gave that one. So out of the 30 points for the practical assignment, this particular one is worth 7.5%. So if you skip that assignment, it is 7.5% of your grade. And I just want to make that clear here so that you didn't skip it if you thought, well, that looks a little long. It's only, divided all up. It's not that much, but it is actually weighted a little bit more. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. All the written assignments together in aggregate are 20%. It's just divided evenly amongst all of those assignments. And I do have a little cheat sheet on here somewhere that gives you the rubric, I think. I might not have it on here, but you could calculate the amount per practical assignment, the amount per written assignment. It's just divided evenly, except for this one, which is 7.5. So if you subtract 7.5 from 30%, and then divide the rest of the assignments, you'll get the total of the percentage for each one. And then the quizzes, there are 9 quizzes. So you can see they're worth a little bit more than 1% of your grade per quiz. And then discussion threads are worth about 10% of your grade. So this is how your grade is derived for the course. And then, of course, you have exams, which amount to 30% of your grade. And one thing I do want to mention is that if you look at the grade breakdown, unlike many classes, a large percentage of your grade is going to come from the practical assignments. So it is a rather large component of your grade. So make sure you don't neglect those practical assignments. There's plenty of time to get them done. I would suggest trying to pace yourself to make sure you stay on target for the due dates for these. If you slip it behind on those, sometimes it can get a little bit a little overwhelming to try to catch up to those. Also, I just want to make you aware that when you look at the assignment numbers, they do skip around a little bit. So for example, in week 2, there's PA assignment 2-2, -4, and -6. So there is no -3 or -5. The reason for that is because I created a lot of practical assignments for the course, so that they could be variation in the practical assignments each time the course is delivered. And sometimes some of these practical assignments we might discover no longer work. So I might substitute one in if we discover that one of these doesn't work anymore, either because it's a newer operating system that everyone's using, or it could be that the tool no longer is available, or Windows patched some vulnerability that we play with, something along those lines. So if we get any adversity in any of these, we can always substitute a different one. They're all queued up in Blackboard ready to go, so it won't take long if I have to substitute one of these, but we'll play that by ear. I did try all of these labs before the quarter started, and they all worked, so we should be good. But just be aware that these numbers skip around. So if you're looking in the book, and a lot of these are from the book, so if you're following along in the book, don't just go through all of the labs in the book, because there are many that you don't have to do. I didn't assign all of them. There's a tremendous number of labs in the book, so you don't have to do all of those labs. We certainly don't have enough time in a 10-week class to do all of those labs. All right, so that is how the grading works. So let's go back to Blackboard. So each week when you go into Blackboard, we'll start at week 1. There will always be a brief introduction to the material that we're going to be studying that week. So I'll always give you kind of a little synopsis of what to expect. And then I will tell you what you should be planning on doing each week. So for example, in week 1, you're going to look at the presentation material, some of which you're looking at right now. You're going to participate, hopefully, in the discussion threads. and you're going to complete your practical assignments 1-1, 2, and 3, and your written assignments, written assignment 1-1, and then finally the quiz. So if I scroll down, here are the learning objectives. So these are the objectives of what you should be learning or should be able to do at the conclusion of this unit. And you'll see in week 1 lecture, I'll have the PowerPoints in here for you, as well as a link to the video that you can watch. I do recommend watching the videos. I know that a lot of students skip the videos. The videos this quarter for this class should be on YouTube. We didn't convert them over yet, so they're still on YouTube. And one of the nice things about YouTube is you can play them much faster. So you can set the playback time to two times normal speed, so that you don't have to. In fact, you can try that right now if you're getting bored. Set it to 2 times speed, and it'll speed up the sound of my voice, and then you don't have to wait for me all the time if you're getting everything. So anyway, so you'll see a link to those videos just like any other course. And then down here we have our discussion threads. So each week I will, in the bold, you're going to see what the discussion thread topic is. So I always start with some topics. So for example, in week 1, I'm going to ask you to go and research different keyloggers, and you'll know what those are because we're going to discuss them a little bit in the lecture. So you're going to look at hardware and software, discuss the differences with the class. So post your thoughts about that and be prepared to discuss your concerns with each of those in an IT security context. So a lot of times when I ask about concerns in IT security, what might keep an IT security person up at night is kind of what you're thinking about, and that's what you're going to discuss in the discussion board, and maybe different ways you might mitigate that. So that's going to be the first discussion. Now, one thing I want to make clear about the discussions, and this might be a little different than some of your other courses. I know that many courses, the discussions are basically post one substantive response and then 2 other responses or something like that. But for my class, I'm a little bit different. What I prefer is that if you are going to post something, but someone else already posted it. So let's say you did a little bit of research on these keyloggers, and you found one that you thought was kind of neat, and you go to post it, and someone else has already posted it. Don't duplicate what someone else already did. You have 2 options. You can either add to what that person already posted, so respond to their thread and said, something like, yes, I saw the same thing. I think this is a great product. Here are some other, or it's a very scary product, depending on how you're looking at it. And here are some things that I found about it, and here's some ideas I have that you could implement to protect against this particular product in your environment, or something like that. So don't feel like you have to post a new thread. When I do the grading, it doesn't matter to me if you have a new thread or if you're responding to other threads. What's more important is that you're contributing original thought to the discussion, and that you're participating in the discussion. So I'm usually looking for at least 3 times. For an online class, I'm looking for at least 3 times you posted something substantive. That doesn't mean you only have to post 3. You could post 5, 6, 10. You could have post 1 or 2 sentences to other students if you want to participate or you have something to contribute. But do make sure at least 3 times you post something original and something that I can grade. So that's what I'm looking for on the discussion board. So one thing I just want to make clear, as I said before, is you do not have to create a new thread every single week. You can participate in other students' threads. If you're the kind of person that jumps in the discussion board on Sunday morning, you're probably not going to be the kind of person that's going to be creating new threads, because there should already be established threads that you can participate in. But if you're the kind of person that likes to get a head start and you're jumping in the discussion on Monday, very likely you'll be creating a new thread and posting your thoughts in a new thread to which other students will respond to your thoughts and perhaps create a conversation. So for me, that's the most meaningful way to use the discussion board. So please don't get stuck in that trap of thinking that you have to create a thread. I shouldn't be seeing new threads being created on Sunday morning from somebody who just signed in for the first time to discussion thread and put something in last minute and then responds to another thread. By all means, just respond to other. That doesn't mean you can't participate at that point, but you can certainly respond to other students. Those discussion boards will probably turn off at the end of each week. What I'm trying to prevent is in previous quarters, I've had a lot of students that participate in the discussion threads after the week's concluded, and it makes it difficult for the students who take the time to participate during the active week to have meaningful discussion. So it makes it more difficult. So I get complaints from students saying, I really want to contribute 3 or 4 times, but no one else is in the discussion board until Friday. And by the time I get back in there, there's a couple threads, but it's kind of late. I'm late to the party again. So I just want to make sure that everybody's participating during the week. And I'm not seeing discussion threads, pop up 3-4 weeks after that thread closed. So they are going to close, so you'll no longer be able to access them. There's really no reason with an online class that you shouldn't be able to. I mean, there's some extenuating circumstances, but for the most part, if you're taking a business trip, there's no reason you can't log in and post the discussion thread once or twice early in the week. All right, so then you're going to see your practical and written assignments. They're always going to be in a separate folder. So if you click on them, so for example, if I click on practical assignment 1, you'll have the instructions. And these instructions, if it's an assignment that's from the textbook, you will also see these steps in the textbook as well. But where it's highlighted, so where you see bold text, that's what I'm expecting for you to turn in. So where you see the bold, so for example, the bold, it says here, save this screen to submit for this assignment. That's what I'm looking for you to submit for the assignment. I always have students who say to me, Brian, what should I submit for these assignments? Anything that's in bold is what I'm looking for you to submit. And you can see if I scroll down here, here's another one, submit a scan report for this assignment. And by the way, when you see what I ask you to submit, make sure you submit that. I always have students that will submit something completely different. So for example, in this lab where you scan for rootkits, I'll have a student send me a screenshot of the rootkit running. That's not what I'm looking for, though. I'm looking for the scan report after it's finished running. So don't assume that it's just a screenshot every time. In many cases, I'm going to ask you questions, and sometimes throughout the lab, I'm going to ask questions, and you'll have maybe 3 or 4 different questions that you'll have to answer to turn in for the lab. This is an example. PA0 is an example of a lab that you will not find in the textbook. So these are labs that I created that you'll have to do without the textbook. I tried to give you some pretty explicit instructions, but again, just make sure when you complete those labs, just look at my instructions. It'll tell you what to do. In this particular lab, there's no deliverable because it's ungraded. This is just for you to make sure that you, A, have your virtual machine running Windows ready to go, and that you have your DunX1 account configured and ready to go, or DunX1, depending how you pronounce it. If you're not sure what DunX1 is and you've never used it before, take a look at my video. It'll show you how to set up your account, but you do want to make sure that this is ready to go, and that's just a command shell that you'll use to do some of the assignments. As far as installing Linux and Windows, I have here Windows 8.1. If you want to use Windows 10, you're welcome to do so. Almost all of the labs will work in Windows 10. I think actually they all do work in Windows 10 as well as Windows 8.1. So you can use either one. As far as which version of Linux to use, really this is for the 4th week. So that's that longer lab in the 4th week is where you're going to use Linux. And I wrote that lab to work with Fedora 23. So if you don't use Fedora 23, the lab will still work. You can make it work in any build of Linux, in any version of Linux. You can make it work in Ubuntu or Xubuntu or Red Hat, Debian. It doesn't matter. It would work in any of them. So if you have another version of Linux that you prefer to use, you're welcome to use it. But a lot of the steps in my lab will not work. My lab is designed for Fedora, which is a Red Hat flavor of Linux. So a lot of the things in the Debian flavors will work a lot differently. Some of the commands are going to be a little bit different. Some of the packages that are included are going to be different if you're using a different flavor of Linux. So I would recommend using Fedora 23, but as I said, if you're really good with Linux and you think you can figure everything out on your own, then you're welcome to try it. But please, if you're going to use a different version of Linux, don't ask me a lot of questions about how to do something in some other version, because there are 25 students enrolled in the class, and I could have 25 completely different versions of Linux, and 25 of you not knowing what to do would be a lot of stuff for me to figure out. If it's just a few of you, I can do it. I can help you figure it out. Sometimes when you run into little problems with Linux, and you may have run into this in your Linux classes, sometimes it takes a while to figure out why it doesn't work. And, if it takes me an hour or two to make something work in Debian, for one student, then it's going to take me another couple hours to figure out for the next student and so forth. Well, that could be 20 hours of time for me, which is a lot to ask in a week. So please use Fedora 23 if you have any doubt. All right, so that's an example of some of the practical assignments. Let me go back into week 1, just show you an example of a written assignment. So for example, in week 1, when I click on written assignment, use the internet to research some different ransomware attacks that have occurred recently, etc., etc., etc. Most of these written assignments, I'm not looking for a formal written document, just looking for a couple paragraphs. You don't always have to do your sources, but if you did use a source other than the textbook, you should put it in your paper or in your submission. But I don't need this to be in a certain format. You don't have to do APA or MLA formatting or anything like that. Just very informal is fine. Even if you want to use bullet points to answer certain questions, that's fine. As long as you're answering the question and putting some thought into it is what I'm looking for. So those are the written assignments. And again, there's one in each unit, so you're going to find 10 written assignments, and they're also on the syllabus. Finally, each week, and this is usually going to be the last thing you're going to work on each week, so I put it at the bottom, is the quizzes. So there is a quiz each week. The quiz is generally what you find in the textbook. So if the material for that particular week is covered in the textbook, you'll find that these questions are from the textbook. So you would go through and answer these questions and then submit it, and that's it, and it gives you your grade right away. So these are the quizzes. I don't believe there's a time limit on these, so you can use your book and take your time and carefully answer each question. You don't have to just rush through here and answer all of them. So by all means, take your time. You do only get one try, so do take your time to answer these questions, because it's an easy A when you take these quizzes. It's an easy 1% on your grade each time. And it's a good study guide, which is primarily why I use these as a study guide. Okay, so that's the quizzes. So that's pretty much all the content that you're going to see each week until you get to week 6. So each week you should see practical assignments, written assignments, quizzes, a discussion thread, and that should be about it. And then, of course, you're also going to see an exam in weeks 6. And let me just leave this. So in week 6, an exam will open up in here. So you'll see a link for the midterm exam. And also in week 10, you'll see a final exam. I will post an announcement for the exam. So you'll see an announcement to remind everyone that we have an exam coming up. So most important thing is just each week, sign in. Make sure you know what we're going to be working on that week. Make sure you take a look. And as you go through the week, just do a little checklist to make sure you've completed all these things. If you're not sure if you've completed something, I'm sure most of you know, you can go into My Grades, and it will show you what you've done and what you haven't done. So it'll always show you a list of all of your grades. And that's it. So that's, in a nutshell, how we're going to do this course online. And if you have any questions or any concerns, please let me know. And make sure you download a copy of the syllabus and review it before the term gets too far along. And if you need anything, like I said, let me know.